Hello, this is Maria Elena Duron, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Now, if you haven't seen part one of this video, the part one actually talks about how you can get started in auditing and optimizing your Google My Business profile. Google My Business is a free tool provided to you that provides you the ability to showcase your products and services, what it is that you do, and even your online reviews to stay in good connection with people who are searching for you or people who have already done business with you. So let's dive in and talk about what we didn't cover in part one. Part two, we're going to take you through some of the things that you can see in Google My Business that will help you get even more consistent visibility. So number one, we talked about posts last time. We talked about your information, and we talked about your categories. One of the other areas you'll see, so what I'm doing is I'm going through the left-hand side of a Google My Business profile, which is where you navigate. And the navigation is set up just like it is in any other Google tool. You'll find whether you're in YouTube using the Creator Studio or Analytics, or even in Google Search Console, that the layout is pretty much the same. All the navigation happens on the left-hand side. So if you're looking at the information of your Google My Business profile, immediately under that is the insights. And that's very important to look at, because now you can find out, first of all, how people actually find you when they're looking for you. What are they putting into search for you? And this is important because you need to be relevant, the first part of the Google algorithm, for you to show up when somebody is searching for you. How can you be relevant? Well, you are relevant by matching what they're looking for. This is why you want to see how people find you. What they're using will help you be able to put the words that you need in your post, and even with your About Us, or when you're talking about your products or services, and even your social media post, so it can expand past the Google My Business profile and be able to bring more visibility to you. You can also know exactly whether or not people found you directly, which means they actually went straight to your listing. So they went specifically looking for you. They're looking for your profile. Or it could be through discovery. They were able to search around and all of a sudden they did find you because you showed up in a relevant search that they were looking for. You can also see how many views that you've gotten. So it will show you whether or not they looked in search and maps, and understand the way people act when they come in different ways to find your information will determine what their next steps are. For example, if they found you on search, their behavior is a whole lot different compared to somebody who found you on maps. When they find you on maps, more than likely they're coming to visit your location. They're either going to drive by, take a look, or at least see what area that you cover if you've got a local area coverage. So maybe they didn't find you on maps as far as your specific address, because maybe you selected not to publish your specific address, but you want people to know that yes, you do service the area in Midland, Texas. So again, that could be how you showed up. And then you want to see what kind of actions they took. Did they visit your website? Did they call you from coming to your Google My Business profile, or did they message you? And you can see the kind of volumes of calls that you get, even the days of the week that are better, that help you with making good business decisions and planning what will meet the needs of people who could be potential customers for you. It also will let you know who looks at your photos. I am very much a strong proponent of you must measure your marketing. If you're not measuring, you're not marketing. And this is key to look at the insights of how people are interacting with your Google My Business profile, how they're finding you, and what kind of results or actions are you getting from them when they find you. So you can see exactly what kind of photos you have and what resonates with people. And you can also see what the ratio is of your photos. So do you have more customer photos than your photos? And while I love customer photos because that's third-party validation, and I love that social proof, showing that interaction from somebody other than you saying this is a great thing to do or the best thing to look at, but you also want to be the one who's in charge of your own PR. Don't ever delegate that to someone else that's not a part of your team or that you don't vet before they come in. So you've got to know what kind of person's out there promoting you, and it needs to be you as far as the top of the funnel of who is the best person out there speaking your brand voice and focused on the things that you can deliver to your customers. So as I look at photo quantity, if it's more customer photos than it is your photo, then I want to make sure that you are elevating and uploading more photos from your business so that you are the one controlling the narrative that people find online, and that's all a part of that first impression. Now, if it's all the other way, let's say you have a lot of photos yourself as the owner and only a little customer photos, then part of your strategy might be that you're going to call out to your customers or ask them in post online and say, hey, I would love to see your photos, and ask them to submit that, because there needs to be a better balance. People don't just want to see everything from a business, because it's easy for you to say, hey, I'm amazing, I'm wonderful, but it's much harder and actually more credible if somebody else, a third party, a past customer, somebody that works with you, a good partner with you who maybe is in a business that's in a non-competitive industry but also serves your same customer, that would be better, because that's now a third party validation. So let's say you're interested in somebody managing your Google My Business profile. I would ask them what they look for in insights. What are some key takeaways that they get, and how often do they look at insights? Their answer will tell you just what they do and how much they'll focus on exactly what kind of traffic and what's happening with your Google My Business profile. If they don't ever look at it, if they don't attach it to your Google Analytics, so they're both measuring not just what your website does, but also what your Google My Business profile does. If they barely take a look and see what the photos are, and they don't look at how the search traffic's coming in, or what people are searching for when they go look for you. Are they coming in through search, or are they coming in through maps? How are they connecting with you? If they don't give you a report on that, then I would want to know that right away. Now, do know that I didn't start the video with the most important part, and that should have actually been from part 1, but let me slow down for a minute and talk about your Google account. It is your Google account. You own it. This is your online property. So if somebody else, an agency or a freelancer, has claimed your Google My Business profile and they don't give you access to it, that's a problem, because you are the owner and you need to be the primary owner. Understand, just like with Facebook pages, there are roles that can be designated in Google My Business. So how the roles lay out is, number 1, there's the primary owner. That should only be you. You're the owner of the business. Understand that if it's both, they're accessing it the same way that you are. Let's say you gave them your Google My Business password, or your Gmail password, or your Google account password, then Google cannot see you different from them. They are an owner just like you. There's no way for them to be able to tell the difference, especially since you both have the login. What that means to you is they can shut you down or shut you out. They can close your Google My Business profile. All those good reviews will now all be gone, and you won't be able to claim those back, or it could be a very lengthy and tedious process to be able to bring that back. So what I encourage is, you're the primary owner always. Make sure you get that. If they will not give it to you, or they say that they don't have it, then you need to delve in a little bit deeper, or you need to find another provider. The second thing is for you to know that the other roles are, example, owner is one. So there's primary owner, that's you. Owner can do everything that you can do, but they can't shut you down or shut you out. So I do like that, especially if you want to give somebody the autonomy of being able to do things within your Google My Business profile and manage it for you without you having to interact that much. But the favorite role that I like to encourage small businesses to use is manager. So you're primary owner always. And then when you have a manager, that means they can't shut you down, they can't shut you out, and they can't add other people to the account randomly. So you have a little bit more control. Remember, this is your part of your first impression, and first impressions are lasting. So you'd want to make sure that you don't goof at this and give it to somebody who is not caring as much about your business as you do as the owner. So know that with manager, they can do everything else that you can do except shut you down, shut you out, and add random people. And that's the role that I normally like to set people at. They're going to access it with their own Gmail or Google account. They are not going to keep your password at all, and you will be able to designate them at that role, which means that you can provide them more access. If you want to elevate them to owner, you can do that, or you can kick them out if you ever want to do that too. You don't have to worry about losing your profile. So be sure to ask for that. And I know I've spent some time talking about this, but I wanted you to pause for a moment and realize that you do need to own it. I've sat across from a lot of small businesses in tears or frustrated because they cannot get access to any of their Google properties because somebody else set it up. They put things together and they did not allow them to have access. That's not right. You own your business. You own your online presence. You are the one who needs to be in charge of it. And the buck stops with you. All right. Now, also, I talk about reviews. So going back into the Google My Business profile and what you can do in auditing and optimizing, and also making a decision on whether or not you bring someone else in. One of the other areas is can look at is reviews. I'm not going to cover that here because I do have another video that talks about reviews. The title is How to Handle Negative Reviews, but it talks about that all encompassing, not just the negative ones. I just do know that if you spend any time in business, you're going to get negative reviews. It's the nature of the beast. So now another one is messages. You can activate messages, and this is helpful because with messages, now when somebody needs you and they have questions, they can reach out to you without it divulging your cell phone number. So now you don't have to worry about random 3 o'clock in the morning texts or anything. What messages does is it masks your phone number. You connect it with your mobile phone, so it's still texting back and forth, but now they don't have your mobile phone number. And why does that matter? It's not just the convenience of you're not going to get these random texts early in the morning or the middle of the night, but it also is that you can share this access through Google My Business with your team members. So let's say that you are busy in a webinar or you're working with a client, and somebody else at the store or the office or in your remote team also is connected to Google My Business messaging. And somebody messages that they have a question about how do you handle this or what's the cost of this. Now they can reply right away. Often that is how people make decisions and who will reply and help them right away. So if they're looking for who's a good provider of the product or service, you could earn that business if you're there and answering and responding, especially if it's more than one team member. So now you have good full coverage of people being able to answer your customers. And those who answer, as I said, get the business off it. Now, do understand too that it is a mobile phone. So you are going to be texting back and forth. The nature of text is people are expecting an immediate response. If you have this enabled, so you do have to enable this through your mobile phone, and you don't respond in 24 hours, then I wouldn't do it at all. So if you're normally, when you look at your own texting behavior and you're not responding in 24 hours, then don't turn it on, because this is texting and people expect immediate response. Understand, if you don't respond in 3 or 4 hours, people are wondering if you're ignoring you. In 6 hours, now they could be downright frustrated, mad, and after 24 hours, they could completely have written you off as somebody viable to do business with because you're not listening. Let me go back with the messages. So here's the question to ask provider. Let's say if somebody wants to help this with you, who sees the messages, who reviews the messages, and who gets alerted on the messages? How are those handled? If they have that blank stare, then may not be the right provider for you because maybe they don't even know that's available through Google My Business. If they're the ones making sure that they filter the messages and they're having to go through them, that could also be an issue. Again, it's your comfort level, so do make sure you're asking those questions. Now for photos, we talked about photos already, but do know it depends on your category that you choose, your primary category, what shows up at the very top of your Google My Business dashboard for photos. So it could be by owner. I'll show you my layout real quick. By owner, by customer, whether or not you had a video, it's at work, your team, or your identity. So you can have those showcased. But let's say you're very product based, then it could be a little bit different. Now, speaking of products, we'll take a look at that because that's right under photos. Now, what you would ask an agency or maybe a freelancer who is looking at photos, where do you get the photos from? How often do I need to provide those for you? If you hear them say stock photo, do know stock photos do not do well on Google My Business. People don't want to see what they can get in Unsplash or Pixabay. They or Canva, what they want to see is you and your business. This is a visual representation. This is a part of your branding. So do keep that in mind, and I'd like to find out and know that before I would bring anybody in to manage, because if they're going to rely on stock photos and not come to me, this may not be a good fit either. So if you look at products, you can see you can get started with putting your online store together, and you could put a set of products. And where that actually shows up in your Google My Business profile is it shows up on search and maps. Right underneath, you'll see those pictures that you actually post for products right underneath. Now, because I know the visual layout of your Google My Business profile, especially on search and maps, I would encourage you to at least list a minimum of 3 products, because if you just list 2, you've got these 2 really rectangles, almost squares, but then you've got a third space that's just empty. It doesn't look right, so you want to fill that out and at least have 3 products listed there, if not more. If there's more, they can scroll on through and you'll see this long list basically that you can toggle through. But if it's only just a few, then have 3 at least in there for your products. And what you can ask them is, what kind of information do you need from the products? How much do you update, or how often do you update products? What kind of photos do you utilize for products? Do you provide the photos? Will you come and do a photo shoot with us? Get all those questions answered up front. Now, let's say you're not product-based. Let's say you're service-based. So now you're going to put in all the different services that you provide to people. Again, I do want you to slow down and really think about how people search and answer those 3 questions, now focused with your services in mind. What does somebody do when they know your name and they know that you have a service that can help them? Number 2, what do they do if they don't know that you exist, but they know there's a service or solution that can help them? And number 3 is if they do not know you exist and they have no clue that there is a service or solution that can help them with their issue or problem, how are they looking for you? And include that text as you prepare and promote what you're doing on your services. So you're going to write out a description of your services, and you really do need to know what people are looking for. That way you can be relevant and match with them. My question for somebody who is considering, or who I'm considering managing this, I would ask, what kind of writing skills do you have? Who's in charge of the content? Can I see a writing sample? Because I don't want somebody who is just what's known as keyword stuffing. All they're doing is putting in the words that they think people are going to search for, or the phrases, and it doesn't make any sense to the person reading, because I know that's also a negative. That could result in a negative review, which carries a very heavy impact within your search results. So I want to make sure that it's good, it's matching, it's professional, it is my brand voice. And then how often do they update that, and what kind of information they'll need from me. Now, the last thing you can also have here are, what is your website? You can connect your website, which you could do that at the info section, but this is the free website that's provided to you through Google. This is a 100% free website that is what's known as WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get. You type it, you publish it, and then it goes live online. You can unpublish it at any time, change the information, change the layout, and publish it. Now, to save you time, the way Google has set this up is it's already taking all the information that you put together for your Google My Business profile. It's picking a theme and populating that information. But do know that you can go back in and customize and pick a different theme. Or maybe you don't want to highlight some of the stuff that you've already mentioned in your Google My Business profile. You want to highlight other things. So you can do that too. You can edit the font, you can change the colors, you can even change out the photos. It will naturally by default bring in the photos you've already posted, but you don't need to use those. You can do a lot of customizing here, and why I bring this up, especially even if you have a website, so you can use this. The reason it was created was because we know people were still looking for people and businesses even before they've made the decision about what website to have and what kind of design, or even the platform that they're going to utilize, the different services. Could it be Squarespace, Wix, WordPress, Magento? What are they going to use? So even though they're going through that analysis, and sometimes it's so much, it can be analysis to the state of paralysis, people are still searching for you. This gives you a chance to have presence even when you're still going through the decision making, or maybe through the design phase. But if you have a website, this is really useful for a landing page that is filled with Google juice. So a landing page will cost anywhere from $450 to $750 plus. And what this does is you can use this to be able to focus on maybe a product or a service, maybe a team member, something that's happening as far as an event, or maybe a special award that you received. The key here is you do have the ability to change out the buttons and the links. It is to link them to your website. So you want to still drive them to your website. Your website is yours. It's where everything's happening, where you can capture information. So you want to drive them to your website and encourage them to go there. For example, let's say I was a salon and I just brought in this new kind of lotion or hair treatment. Then I could feature this in my Google My Business profile website, link to the page on my website where they can even buy that product online, or they can see a video of how you use that product and maybe even come in for a service using that product. But I'll link them there and maybe even give them the opportunity to schedule an appointment to do that. So now it is relevant to what they're looking for, because again, it's not that disconnect we were talking about earlier. This is this specific product linking to that specific page. Do not take them to the home page. That's a mistake. So you want to take them exactly where you told them you're going to take them. Now, let's say we get a new product in. Maybe this is a soap line. So we want to unpublish this, change up the information, change up the photos, republish it, make sure we link it to the right page. And now you can utilize it this way. Again, much like a landing page, you can even capture contact information, but I encourage you to do that on your website. Drive them there, because that is your property online. And you want to make sure that you are owning your contacts and connection. Does that make sense? I'd love to go through further in depth on that, and we'll do a separate video about how you can optimize your Google My Business free website that's provided to you. And then of course the last item is you can choose who the users are, and that is what I was talking about earlier, is deciding exactly what role they have, at what level they can access your information, so that you always stay in control. This is your business, and I want you to own every aspect of your business. All right, that gives you an idea of what you could go through. The next, we'll talk about how you can bring in different locations, and I'll do that in a future video. Or if you have any other questions on topics regarding Google My Business that you want me to cover, feel free to say in the comments below, or feel free to join us in the Market and Moments group, where we focus on anything that small businesses can do to help them in being able to grow their impact and their income in their online marketing.